Hello, and welcome to episode 129 of Live Drawing with me, your old pal. Tonight, I decided to share one of my personal works instead of working on Undersea Hero, which I did work on that page. I've continued to chip away at it. I'll share an update when it's complete or, close to complete or whatever. But tonight, I decided the other day when I went into my storage unit to pull out some of my early works and just look at them, which I don't think is a bad thing to do. And, these were characters that I created and stories I wrote and books I wrote when I basically first got out of college. I did 4 complete single issues of Small Town Type, and I did an Origin annual that did like background stories of all the other characters. Michael DeFonte with the epic entrance. If we had entrance music for Michael, I would love it. It would be something very nice and soothing. Hello, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well, and I hope if not, things get better for you. Thank you, Michael. The best way to start off every time. But with these books, I was working at a print shop at the time, so I actually, in addition to writing, drawing, painting, lettering, all that stuff, I was actually printing, folding, stapling, cutting, trimming, and all that goodness with these. And this was the first issue back in 2011. It's pretty crude, but you can see where my training was as a painter. It was actually one of the better things about it. The paintings themselves, when you look at the originals, the colors are still vibrant. I was trying to do digital lettering that looked hand done instead of hand doing lettering because I was just, I don't know, I was new to it. My lettering was very crude. You can see all the mistakes, like the bubble touching the box, the tail being too far away from the balloon. I still use vertical balloons because I still think that they function, but you just have to be more careful with them. Bad digital lettering on top of things. But you can see that I really love this stuff. I really wanted to do something. I wanted to make something. And that was issue 1. And we did them in color and in black and white, depending on how much money I had, basically. There's a black and white version. Issue 2, which got better by leaps and bounds. If you look at the drawing, the lettering got better. Every issue, it just got a little better. Issue 2. Issue 3 was the yellow one. I don't know where that one is. I think it might be in my bag. I'm not sure where I put it. Hold on one second. That's issue 4. That's the cover to issue 4. There's the cover to issue 3. So yeah, 1, 2. Did red, blue, yellow, green. And then issue 5 was going to be purple. And then I tried to do a sketch cover of my own book, an original art variant, I called it. Because it's blurry. Yeah, original art variant. And then this was the big anthology book I did, and I got my friends to pitch in, covers by Nate Lovett. I wrote the whole thing, and I wasn't going to draw any of it, except for these in between each chapter pieces that were covers, but I ended up having to draw one whole chapter because the artist bagged out, and then half of another chapter because the other person didn't finish it. This person didn't finish these pages, so I had to go in and fake their style. And then the last section was drawn by Lou Manna, who worked for DC and other stuff. Then I did, with the early years, I did a biomass one-shot, which was one of the characters I liked back then. And then I did a public domain superheroes book called Dime Box. And that was like the first several years of Fat Cat Funnies. So I wanted to, take a walk in the old shoes, as it were, and draw the characters of small town type again. And I don't know, I had an itch I needed to scratch, and I'll zoom out a little bit because it's 11 by 17. And, I just wanted to have some fun. And, I would love to, honestly, I would just love to do issue 5. I never got finished after Undersea Hero. I've got a couple of new projects I want to do, but I would love to just finish this. And I'm going to be posting the old issues on the Fat Cat Funnies website in the coming weeks. I'm sure I'll do a post once they're all up there. I was working on the website itself, and I had found that there's a way to set up the galleries through Wix where it functions more like a comic book. So that is what I'm doing, where you click on the first image and then each page is revealed like a book, so that you have the page turns, which are the one thing that I think I've always been pretty good at. And I'm going to just hand do the lettering. That's basically the plan for that. And I'm just going to accept that it's my handwriting, which is what I should have done years ago, but I was just so new to it. And I was nervous about it. That, I looked at my handwriting and it looked different than the hand lettering of, like, the X-Men or whatever, these other slick comic books that I was reading. But then I started to see other writers and artists who did hand lettering that I liked, that looked more organic and hand done. Will Eisner was a big inspiration with that stuff, as was the Zap Comics folks, people like Spain Rodriguez. His hand lettering I always liked. Trina Robbins, phenomenal hand lettering. She always had amazing hand lettering. And honestly, the early Tick comics that were hand lettered by Bob Polio, I always liked those. Let's see if we can find ourselves a pen that is working fairly well. I had a fresh one in here. Just finding it. That one looks pretty good. Yeah. Now for the title, I just kind of winged it. I looked at one of the old books and I just ballparked the spacing, and I'll go in and just do my own lines. We'll do a little drawing, we'll do a little lettering, we'll try to do a little bit of everything tonight. For the smudging, I am actually gonna bring this in so that I don't mess it up too bad. And when you see how long it takes to do the hand lettering, some people are just completely like, nope, I'm just going to type it in. But I don't know. There's a synergy between the line that draws and the line that does the lettering that I think is irreplaceable. Early on in my career, I would have been just mortified to do this. I would have been too nervous. And they're like, "Oh, it doesn't look perfect." It's like, yeah, well, that's part of the enjoyment of it for me now. Like all the little imperfections. Does it read? Does it feel like it should? That's kind of all I think about now when it comes to the lettering on this stuff. And I think people really want slick comics, but I think other people like these handmade comics. There is a clarity and an honesty to them, and there's it's not trying to be Spider-Man. I never set out to make a knockoff serial numbers filed off version of that stuff with these comics. Now, I'd been asked to do that in my career. Can you make a character like this or like that, in the mold of I'm sure there are letterers out there that are looking at me doing this so haphazardly without rulers and just gasping, how could you do such a thing? I want that homey feeling when people look at it. And actually, these comics, these early comics I did, when I talk about them with people, this is what when I tell people to get your friends together and do 6 pages a piece. These are what we did, and this is how we got started. And these characters, like the original Golden Age Daredevil, Sub Saunders, the Black X, like these are all public domain characters. Anybody can make stories with them, do whatever you want with them. They've been published for years. Like you could very easily go out and pick up, a trade paperback of, the early stories of these characters and just like pick a point and say, hey, ours start here. We decided to erase everything after this and go in our own direction. I can see a lot of people doing that with the recently public domain entering Popeye. That's I think that's going to be a popular one. And you can do prints, you can do all kinds of stuff with those public domain characters. And, so many companies do it. Like the Golden Age Daredevil is actually a recurring character in Savage Dragon, the Eric Larson book. If I wanted to do these like kind of slick, I could get out the ruler, I could grit out the whole darn thing. But I don't think it would be in the spirit of the books that it's remembering. Doing a small town type thing and trying to make it look slick would be just like the weirdest thing ever to me. I was actually working on the Fat Cat Funnies website before I logged on here. And you can see the title. I wish I had made a a stat of just the title at some point, but I never did. I guess I could make one off of this. Like I could take it, photocopy it so it's larger. But just talking about the old days. Like I said, I made these when I worked at a print shop, so I would be there and I would actually, after hours, print out my own books, and the owner wouldn't give it to me at cost, but he would give me a good discount, I would say. So I was able to sell them at like, I think that because we did color and black and white versions, I wanted to have a cheap version because I thought issue 1, we needed a cheap version of issue 1 to get people to try it. And I think the black and white ones we sold for like $2.50, but the color ones I had to sell for like $4 or $5 because they were just expensive to make. But these black and white ones we sold, sold a ton of those things and gave away a ton. That was the other thing. Like back in the day, we just wanted people to look at it. I remember going to our first New York Comic Con with some of those and actually being able to get some work out of it. And actually the early Helena stories were done, in these formats. Although I never printed the Helena comics. At this time, there was an online printer that did them for us. I'm trying to remember who the printer was. They don't exist anymore. It was like Comics. It wasn't Comic Express, but the early Helena book. And then the dime box comics, we actually printed oversized because I was able to print these by hand. And these are basically just under magazine sized. Like this is just barely underneath 11. And then a wide, it's 8 and like a third. I wanted it to be as big as possible on an 11 by 17 sheet coming out digitally. And you can see these letters are like different aspect ratios. So like a letter would be like, oh, that's horrible lettering. Can you read it is the question. I'm not claiming the lettering is bad or even not usable, but it's fitting as to what the source material is. And then through these books, I had my first experiences of hiring other artists that were comic book artists. For that anthology series, I actually posted an ad on Craigslist, if you believe it or not, back when that was like a place that was kind of hip to do that kind of stuff, to do art stuff through. I had people send me their portfolios, and I picked the people that were in my price range and that I liked. And some of them I'm still friends with to this day. Like I still know Sean Griffin. I haven't seen him since, I think the last time I saw him was when I was at a Boston show. Hey Martha's, how are you? S's are tough to hand letter. And see, when I was a kid, if I saw that lettering, I would have been mortified. It's just like, oh, it doesn't look perfect. But with age comes a bit of wisdom. A little bit of forgiveness, a little bit of experience. But yeah, these books were, other than the very first Boston show I did, the very first Boston show I did was immediately after college. And I had books that I had done while I was in college for a publisher / store out of Ohio that I had at the table. So I was selling those because I just had copies. because the publisher had sent them to me, and I had taken them to stores and things, but it was not. But yeah, that's generally how I'm going to do the hand lettering. Um, this is just going to be straight. Let me see which pens I got. I've got one that's a little bit. That's the right word. A little more juice to it. Is that the right way to put it? See, that's not going to work because it's got a hard edge. Oh yeah, I will. I'm going to put it in the chat. Let me see if I can do that here. If you see it. Did that show up, Martha's? I put my email into the chat. I don't know if it showed up, but I can say it out loud. It's fatcat, FATCAT, funnies, FUNNIES. I'll just write it out. There you go. Put it on screen there. I can't find any other pens. So we'll just do the best with what we got. Try that one. And this is another thing I never would have done back in the day. Just put the text right on it. Make sure I spell this right. Yeah, just send me what you think you're working on now, and if you have sequential artwork, that's kind of what I specialize in. But whatever you want to send, I'm willing to take a look at. Um, and if I don't mess anything up, I might try to color this thing like the old days. Watercolor right on the board. I know. It's an insane thought. But yeah, these are characters that I would like to finish the last issue on. It's one of those outlying things that has bugged me for years. I've just never been able to go back to it because basically by the time I finished issue 4, I was already starting to get work from other companies, and I was distracted, and I never finished it. And my art style has changed just dramatically, I think, from when I first started these things. But issue 4 is by far the best drawn issue because I had the most pages under my belt. I've had the best cover. I was still trying to use markers at the time, which was a mistake. And this was actually drawn in grayscale. And then I brought it into my computer and did just a color overlay layer to do the coloring. But if you look at issue 4, like you can see that this is by far, the best drawn issue. And the storytelling is the tightest. The lettering's better. It's not great, but it's better. And the backgrounds were lush and complete. The camera moved in and out. And I remember taking this to New York Comic Con, and I'm pretty sure it got some of my earliest one-off gigs. Because back in the day, you used to be able to go to New York Comic Con or a big comic convention, and small presses would be set up, and occasionally they'd be like, "Yeah, we'll hire you to do a pinup or something." Now it may have been out of complete pity, but it was still, to me, I took it serious and was like, all right, this is a real assignment. This is something somebody wants me to draw. And I put my guts into it. After riding a bus back and forth from Boston to New York at 4 in the morning and then catching the last one at night. Yeah, I definitely want to check out your stuff. I mean, I have 19 pages of an unpublished Helena story that will go on the website. I have like 3 pages to finish that at some point, but I just have to keep working on. I haven't taken a break in so long from Undersea Hero. This is just a nice little short distraction, and then I'll go back in. We're on the last 10 pages of line art, so we're in the home stretch on Undersea Hero. So once we hit that, we raised enough money for me to hire my buddy to do the flats with me. So we'll send some of those off, and hopefully those pages go by pretty quickly. Should we do the title? I mean, I feel like we should do the title. Let's see how this is holding up. There you go. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those overlap poster. This is one of those poster style shots where there's some overlap happening. But it's definitely got interaction with the characters because Tom, Space Object, which is our alien character who's made out of obsidian and little pieces of stone, and our giant moss monster here, Biomass, are buddies, and they go and they get into they're heroes, but they get into trouble together because they're young friends. The big villain in the background here, his name's Thursday. And to this day, I would say that Thursday is my least favorite day of the week, and that was why he was named Thursday. And we invented a story around to better explain it, but he's just Thursday. One of of the things that, I think people realize about my work, especially if you read the AR comics that I did for so long and any of this early stuff and even the Helena stuff. I don't like to over-explain things. I like to leave a lot of mystery out there, and I like when shows I watch and stuff do that too. Like, I don't need things overly explained. I'd rather they just don't explain it and it's just on to the next thing. I feel like a lot of fiction and stuff now feels like they have to explain things. I prefer they didn't. Yeah, why not? Let's just work on let's try to finish the lettering, and then we can ink one of the people. It's only 8:30, so we got time. I'm gonna grab one of the ones with color in the background because I need to see where the stroke is. Hey, it's Ray Ramos. How is Ray Ramos doing today? Comic book creator, cosplay artist extraordinaire, world-renowned cosplayer. First saw him as Blade, but his build for his cyborg suit, his Batman suit, world-renowned. Ray was there at the early days when I had these books on my table. It's going all right. I am enjoying working on this kind of a throwback piece from characters I created a long time ago. Decided to do it for fun, kind of in between the pages for Undersea Hero. We're on the last 10 pages of Undersea Hero, so we're in the home stretch on that one, which feels good. I do have to take my car to the garage tomorrow, which is less good. So, give and take. How are you? Martha says they are teaching themselves to do digital. Before that, I was all by hand typing paper with map colors. There's something to be said for the honesty and simplicity of just hand on paper. And just accepting that I'm not trying to do what other companies are doing with this stuff. I'm just trying to make a fun, fitting comic. Page 11, nice. Cranking along. Are you doing a standard length comic, or are you doing a king-sized issue, 18 pages, 24 pages? What are you shooting for on your big debut book? Saw some of the panels on, I think it was on the Angry Geeks. Look good? I mean, we always knew you could draw. I mean, you had those stickers and other designs that you'd been doing for a long time, right? I'd seen those around. You used to do all kinds of stuff like that. You just got too popular with the cosplay. 29 pages. That's ambitious. Ambitious. I'm sure you'll get there, without a doubt. I will want to definitely check out a copy when it is done. But I will gladly wait however long that takes. Well, yeah, I mean, you were creating like these dynamic works, and it had to be creative, satisfying. Like, so you were scratching an itch to be creative, just doing it in a different way. That's a good goal. 29 pages with you've got a full-time job, you got a family. Getting that done in a year, you're about, you're almost halfway there. You got this. Plus, I'm sure you got a bunch of friends to help you when, if you're doing lettering, if you needed help with doing flats or colors or something. I'm sure you've got plenty of folks that can lend a hand if need be. Martha said, I'm okay with things being left to the imagination, but not to the extent of Lost, where I feel like they just twisted it and built it up and twisted it, then didn't know how to end. Yeah, when it is plot threads to where you're leading your characters somewhere, what I don't need explained always are like parts of worlds or origins of characters. Like I find that stuff it'll actually take me out of the story if there's too much explanation going on or we spend too much time dwelling on backstory. And it's another reason why I'm not a big fan of prequels. I don't need all that stuff explained. We saw the result of it. It wasn't, doing it all yourself, going full auteur. Your first work. Auteur, as they say in the cinema. I've never actually tried to draw this logo before, even though I used it for years. I actually wish I hand lettered Undersea Hero on the boards. It is a lot. And you've got one of the things I think that people don't realize is when you do all the pages yourself, you have to thumbnail it, do the layout, pencil it, ink it, color it, letter it. So you're doing these pages multiple times. You're doing multiple passes on them. just mentally, it's a grind. That part of it is a grind. Got greedy with that one. It's also one of the reasons I like doing it all on the board all at once. Is once the board is put away, sucker's done. Now I got to look at the one board longer, but I can feel the end point. It's just more of an organic end to me than when I'm doing it all on like drawing computer back and forth. Oh, you don't mind that part? Yeah, to me there's just the repetitiveness of the same pieces over and over. I like drawing something and then on to the next, when it comes to drawing. I find lettering relaxing though, and I actually enjoy lettering other people's books. Like I think if I were to offer to help other people's stuff in the future, that's like the thing that I would be able to, because I can also letter a book in a weekend, like and do it well, not like rushed. Well, digitally, I mean, hand lettering an entire book for somebody that would actually be a fun challenge. I would like to do that at some point. Maybe I can get my buddy Jay to let me write on his boards. Because that's the thing, you got to trust me to do this on your board, like your original art boards. So. Martha's, I hear you on mechanics. I had my clutch and flywheel replaced and it's still slipping. It would act up when I brought it back to the shop. So just waiting for it to happen again. Yeah, I think what the issue on mine is I've got an issue one with the windshield wiper fluid sprayer that's not working. But I also think that I had the drive shaft replaced in the summertime, and I think it's already acting up. And I'm hoping that the piece is still under warranty. I'm taking it back to the same shop. Because that actually happened with another car part that I had done earlier in the year, the brakes on my car, and they replaced it with just paying for the labor, which was good. Ray says he's doing everything digital, so. I don't remember what your day job was, Ray. Do you end up looking at a computer screen all day and then going home to a computer screen? Because that's another thing that tends to drive me a little nutty. I actually get migraines from that. Too much screen time. Ocular migraines, the doctors call them. I'm sure watching me letter this isn't the most exciting thing for folks, but like, it's really important to the piece. It's part of making comics. I hope it doesn't look too shoddy. Oh, you make patio doors, so you don't have to deal with the computer screen all day. So, yeah. It makes sense that you build things as a builder of things, as I've known you, that you're a professional builder of things on many levels. Well, if when you're done with your book, you want to come on here and plug it, or if you want to hop on the live drawing stream with your Cintiq or whatever digital method you want to use, my friends are always welcome to come on the live drawing podcast stream thing community. So we've got some cool people that come hang out. We got a lot of people in the chat today. Got some lurkers in there for sure. A lot of viewers across our 3 platforms tonight. I do also plan on post Undersea Hero getting back to just doing more giveaways. I know we did one with the Spawn cover around the holidays. I'd like to do that probably about once a month. All right. Now there's a drop shadow on these things that also has a stroke because I was a young designer when I did this and I didn't know that that was not something that you did. So I'm going to make some tiny alterations to it as a more mature designer. Jay says he's getting a call. Who's calling Jay Kennedy at this time of night? Mom, are you calling Jay again? I don't know why I designed it this way when I was a young lad, but this is just how it was. MPA Asian Artist says, I wish I can do comic. I think anyone can do comics. Like if you wanted to do them with photographs or with really simple drawings, I really believe that. Martha's, yeah, if they can't make me care about a main character, I don't care how many degrees Kelvin his blast ray is, but I think some stuff is written for a more autistic audience who loves details. Maybe. I don't know. Never thought about it that way. Yeah, I don't care about those levels of details. Like, I know that was popular. And when I was a kid, the one that I always point to is Dragon Ball Z. They were always like, his power level's at, 9,000 or whatever. And they would always just find someone and raise the number and make the number bigger. So it just seemed entirely pointless to me. I'm sure someone hasn't actually coming up for me on that one, but so be it. Michael says he posted on social media sites he's an illustration he's working on for the past couple nights. Emailed the image to you if you want to check it out in case Yeah, I definitely want to. If you emailed it to me at the Fat Cat one that I posted, heck yeah. Anytime you want to send something, Michael, I want to check it out. When we get done with Undersea Hero and we're working on posting stuff on my website, I definitely want to get some pinups get a pinup from you and get some from my friends. Does it take time to do comics? It does. It can take a long time, but it can also take less time. If you like, let's say you wanted to make a comic. Back in the day, there were things that were popular called fumetti comics, which were done with photographs. Like you could get together with one of your pals and just play the characters yourselves, take a bunch of pictures, and then add the speech balloons and the sound effects to it, and there you have your comic. Or if you did it with really simple drawings, um, one of the comics that I always played around with was just two cats. And they'd be like just as simple as an oval and a smiley face and a couple of triangles, and then just like another oval for his big fat belly. And there's his little feet, his little arms. There's a tail. And there's, if you just draw like that, depends what you want the pictures to look like. Ah, you're a portrait artist. Okay, cool. Well, then you could absolutely make a comic. You could do a comic out of just portraits of people talking. I just think comics are so versatile that, anybody can make them. You can do them in all different styles. You can do all sorts of stuff with them. So I always encourage people to give it a try at least, especially if they're already creative. I mean, I've known people who make one comic and that's all they ever make is that one comic. But, there's a couple of that I have that I really like them. I've kept them for many, many years. Yeah, sure. If you want to send me one of your portraits, that'd be cool. I don't think I've ever spent this much time lettering on the stream, so if I'm boring people to tears, I'm sorry. I would agree with that. I would say likenesses are very hard. Or at least they take me so long to do. Ray says, I got to a cosplay badge for RIC last year. I assume you always get a cosplay badge. MPA says you can't do shapes. Maybe, yeah. They do paintings. Or do you mean that you got to do the cosplay badge? I don't know what you meant there. Oh, you got to draw the cosplay page. Gotcha. Cool. Yeah, I didn't see any of this year's badges. Obviously, I wasn't there, and for once, I wasn't the person designing the badges. So. I like Toth too. Yeah. Send a friend request. I can't look at it now during the stream, but when I hop off, I'll hit the accept or whichever play. If it's Facebook, I'll hit accept. If it's one of the other ones, I think you can just like Twitter or whatever. You can just message or add me or follow me or whatever. Toth is actually one of my favorite artists. So. Hey, before I forget, where's a good safe place to get royalty-free music for Kickstarter campaigns? I have a membership to Adobe Stock, so that's what I used on mine. There's a whole bunch of royalty-free pay account type places out there, but I just already belong to Adobe for Creative Cloud and stuff, so I just signed up for a stock membership. I actually need to cancel it because I'm not using it very much now. And they keep giving me more and more credits. If you cancel your account without using the credits, the credits go away. So I have to spend a day and just download a ton of stuff that I think I can use in the future, and not lose the credits. And I just haven't had a day to sit at home and do that. Or I'll put it this way: I have not prioritized it over other stuff going on. All right, well, we got our letter in there. So now we'll do some inking. I think we'll start with my buddy Tom here in the upper left. Grab my chair. Back's starting to go. Move this. Smudge. All right. Smells, yes. Smell. Grab the right pens. These I really like these Tombow pens. Those are working very well lately. But I generally start with this kind of pen. Trying not to be lazy with my hand. That's something I've been fighting lately, just so that the lines move how they're supposed to and they wrap around the objects that they're supposed to. See if we can zoom in a little bit so you can see it better. Yeah, like Tom is a character that just fell from the sky, literally. He's just an alien. He was a space. He was witnessed as a space object, as NASA would classify it as, and they gave it a number. It was number 876, and he picked the name Tom. And that was as extensive as his origin got. And he was just a character that was there. Then it turned out that he was kind of like a teenager, and he goofed off, and he made friends with the swamp monster. Who, one of the things that my wife points out to me in the biomass one shot, and this was in 2009, so this was long before Baby Groot or any of that stuff happened. I had little biomass, as the little character running around. And then I had him as a teenager with like little roots as a mustache, like the junky mustache that some young men, including myself, had when they were teenagers before they learned how to shave. And look, some of these designs are really simple. I allude to that he could be the race that inspired the statues on Easter Island. But I never say it, and I don't know if it's true. Like, I don't know. This was drawn by Stephanie O'Donnell, who was a fantastic artist. There's the cover that I did that was like the plate in the book. He's standing on the heads. Thank you very much, Ray. And Stephanie did a wonderful online strip called the Original Nutty Funsters. And they put out one book with Free Lunch Comics called A List of Grievances back in 2007. And it was really a terrific book. Good luck finding it now, but like her work was really awesome. And I loved her strip and lost touch with her. I don't know. I thought maybe I could reach out to her again to see if she's still on social media. Yeah, terrific artist. She was clever, smart writing. I just really enjoyed her work. As soon as I found it, I just liked it. And kind of like with the earlier parts of the books, when it came to these series races, I really enjoy your work. Thank you very much. I like your work, sir. So. When I started getting other work with like IDW and things, like I just kind of drifted away from these projects. And then once I got the tick, I drew the tick for 10 years. I mean, think about that, 10 years on a character. Who does that anymore? Nobody. Crazy people. Only crazy people do that. Jay says, "Oh God, I'm having a flashback." Well, we have the Jay Kennedy work, and actually, one of my favorite Jay Kennedy early stories was the biomass story that you did. I would write biomass for you for however long you'd want to draw it. I mean, this is great stuff. The construction site, and I have that painted piece you did for me here. Actually, found it the other day. This was a Hulk 1 cover homage that Jay did for me of the character Biomass. So I still love this piece. I love looking at it. Yeah. Super fun. Some of my favorite of the early Jay Kennedy period. And Jay's work has evolved considerably since, the early days of what, in a couple of short years will be 20 years ago. Our light source for this piece is kind of up and to the left. So like when we do our shadows, they're all going to be heavier to the right. I'm not going to go too crazy because, like I said, I think I might color this if I don't screw anything up. Jay yells, "Acid flashback. Grah!" Gotta spotlight that one right there. Grah! No, but I found the script to issue 5 that I wrote a long time ago for the series, the last issue of what was going to be, a 5-issue series, and I very well may finish it. I'd like to. After Undersea Hero, like I said, I've got plenty of original stories, so it's not like I'm just going to go back and keep doing stuff from 15 years ago. But I would like to just finish the one thing so that I can put it on the website and the story's complete, and do some new stuff. And look, if I end up doing any other old stuff, great. If not, I will have completed the piece. And it'd be interesting collaborating with an old script. It's because I don't remember writing all of it, and I don't remember. I've changed so much as a creator. So hopefully that the artist I am now is going to help the artist that I was back then, and is going to be able to do some cool stuff that maybe I couldn't have done back then. Like there's definitely, like, even just in this one drawing, like just looking at the way I drew these characters, the ability leap from when I was back then doing them. It's very evident. Jay and I did a million shows. We produced so many copies of our early work. Jay did a book called Distracula, which I still want to draw a single Distracula story at some point. It doesn't have to be a long; it can be a short, just with the original characters. Get this Tombow pen going. These things are great. Arthur says, I'm impressed you've gotten so much out considering how laborious your process is. Well, yeah, thank you. I mean, it just comes with not having much else of a life. I always get asked, like, why don't you sell all your originals, and it's genuinely because, like, when I look back just at my life, when people were going to parties, I was at home working, you know, I don't have those memories. I've got these originals. So many stories of, like, when we were at a barbecue or whatever, and I had to leave because of a deadline, or getting up crazy early to work on a holiday to try to get things done while also getting off of work for a little bit. There was, the TMNT 51 cover. I finished inking that by getting up at like 4 in the morning and sitting in the bathroom of our hotel type building, and working on that with the light on in the bathroom, trying not to wake my wife up. It's also why I like lettering on the board. As I mentioned, it's another thing where, like, as soon as the board is done, the piece is done. Like, when all that is on there, because anytime, trying to think back of often the times where I had worked with letterers, like anytime Jeff McClellan lettered something for me, it looked good. But there were so many letterers I worked with that didn't know how to read the artwork, so the lettering would just be not great. And I just preferred lettering myself, so I would just digitally letter it myself if the company required it digitally. I've actually had companies require the use of specific programs. One of my early TMNT covers had to be submitted as an EPS file, and at the time, the only way I could do that was with Illustrator. So I actually drew it on board and then brought it in and piece by piece converted it to vector in old Illustrator before Live Trace was like the standard way to just convert things quickly. It was at the beginnings of that. Another thing back in the day, I was only using these tiny little 4.0 or 6.0 brushes, liner brushes to ink. So I'd be going back and forth to the inkwell. These, pocket brush pens are like the greatest thing. Yeah, this character basically looks like he's made out of like volcanic glass, with like little bits of rock floating here and there on him. He's a fun character to draw. Not easy. Although when I was younger, I used the darkness to, like, as a crutch instead of drawing it, properly. The old Wally Wood adage that he would say, when in doubt, black it out. And I followed that, too closely, I would say, with this character. I would put too much ink down unnecessarily. The other thing about Tom here is he wears Hawaiian shirts. So those take a little bit of work to draw the the pattern on them. And it's almost 9:30, so let's try to draw Tom here and call it a night. I put little rocks on his knuckles as kind of a way to shorthand and make it easier to draw his hand in like three-dimensional space. And then his fingers are actually made out of the stone material that like his chin is, and like these little areas around his face are. And what I'll do is I'll actually put white spatter in these areas so it looks like he has stars inside of him. One of my favorite critiques of my early work was one of the few times a real professional took a minute to look at my books, and it was Howard Chaykin, and he said, "I've seen crap," using the other word, and this is not crap. That was maybe I was floating on a cloud. That was my favorite critique, probably my best critique. And he went on to talk about the storytelling being solid and that my drawing needed work, but the storytelling potential was there, and the creative elements of being a comic book artist, not an illustrator, a comic book artist, were there. And that was a Boston Comic-Con years ago that he was at. And I to this day, I still think of it fondly. Actually, the next time I saw him, I asked him if he would do a pinup or a piece for my next issue of Helena, and he said he would for a price. Of course, I just didn't have the amount of money at the time. You know, looking back, I of course wish I had done it, but I was working at a print shop, basically in a strip mall, and I had no money. All my money went to like paying for gas and groceries. Thankfully, I was able to drag my other friends into helping me out. I'm actually going to need to get my pencil because the pencil lines have disappeared from all the smudging from my hand going across it. You got 4 shortened fingers. You got to get the formula right. Otherwise, it's going to look really bad. Obviously, he's an alien. You can kind of fudge it a little bit, but people know when you do that. because I'm trying to get this done a little quicker. Too much talking on my part, I guess. Too much yapping by me. That's when I need Jay to pop on and just say, get back to work. Grab my little S pen here. Oops. Low on ink. I need to pick up another one. I do need to place an art supply order. Thankfully, I got some gift cards for Christmas this year, so I'll be able to get some good art supplies. All right, let's try to clean this up just a little bit so you can see him a little better. He's wearing his bird shirt. I'll draw that in real quick. There's the hand. It's a shirt with just birds on it. And yes, I have a shirt like that, so it's a real thing. There we go. Well, 9:30. We're on for an hour and a half. I think we've overstayed our welcome. But there's time. Space Object 876. There's a little bit about where my career started and how I did things early on. There's a zoom out. We'll try to finish it this week. I don't know if we will, but thanks everybody for coming and hanging out with me tonight. I hope everyone has a good weekend, and I don't know where you are, but it's freezing cold outside, so I hope everybody stays warm, and I hope to see you in a week or so. So have a good night, and take care.